air compressors. Today, Unit 5 is heat transfer and refrigeration. So here only we are going to study about basics concept of heat transfer and the basics things of refrigeration. And what is heat, what is temperature, and what are the different modes of heat transfer, and how this working principle of refrigeration. So now we all know that what is heat. So heat is a form of energy. It can be transferred from one place to another place. And how it is formed? So what is the difference between heat and temperature? So heat, in next slide, I have given a detailed explanation about difference between heat versus temperature. See, heat is a form of energy that is transformed between two substances at different temperatures. If one substance is having 20 degrees Celsius and another one is having 40 degrees Celsius, and the 40-degree higher temperature of heat is transferred to lower temperature. So in second unit you have studied about engines. So engines, higher temperature, the heat will be always transferred from higher temperature to lower temperature. Of course, the heat will be transferred from lower temperature to higher temperature with some external source. So if you are not giving any source, we can't transfer heat from lower temperature to higher temperature. So heat means heat is a form of energy that is transferred between two substances at different temperatures. See, next point, direction of energy flow is from the substance of higher temperature to the substance of lower temperature. That only I explained before. The direction of flow is from always from higher temperature to lower temperature. So if you want to supply the heat from lower temperature to higher temperature, we need some external force. So now here the energy is transferring, energy flow is only off of higher temperature to substance of lower temperature. So now heat is measured in unit of, heat is measured in unit of energy, usually in calories or joules. So now coming to temperature. Now what is temperature? How we are going to differentiate this heat and temperature? The temperature is defined as the degree of hotness or coldness of an object. So if you want to find out the hotness of an object or coldness of an object, we need this temperature. So temperature is measured by a device called thermometer. See how heat is produced. How heat is produced. So if for example, if I am taking two stones and strikening that stone, mean what will happen? Frictional force will be created. So due to that frictional force, automatically the object will be consist of atoms and molecules. The atoms and molecules, due to frictional force, it will move faster. So due to that faster movement, heat is produced. So if temperature is defined as the degree of hotness or coldness, if object is having of 100 degrees Celsius, then we can tell it as hotness of that material. If the same object is having degree Celsius of minus 32 degrees, then we can tell it as uh, temperature of coldness. So temperature is defined as degree of hotness or coldness of object, and this temperature is measured by the device called thermometer, and temperature is measured in units of Kelvin and Celsius. Okay. Next, heat is a total amount of energy in the substance where the temperature is the measure of average energy of the molecular motion in the substance. So heat, heat is a energy. So for finding or to measuring that energy, we need this temperature. So that is the measure of average energy of the molecular motion in a substance. So now, so important two more question. What is heat transfer? So heat transfer, we said that transformation of energy from one region to another region in terms of temperature difference is called heat transfer. Temperature difference means if I am going out, the temperature, the atmospheric temperature will be 31 degrees Celsius, but in my home, the atmospheric temperature will be 28 degrees Celsius. So if I am going out, what will happen? The atmospheric temperature will transfer the heat to my body, so that there will be a transformation of energy from one region to another region in terms of temperature difference. Okay. Now next point, heat transfer deals with the determination of rates of such energy transfer as well as the variation of temperature. So just now I said variation of temperature means it will transfer from always higher temperature to lower temperature. That is a varying temperature. If one object is having 40 degrees Celsius, another object is having 20 degrees Celsius. So variation will be 20 degrees Celsius will be variation. So that variation of temperature will be transferring from one place to another place. Now next point, transfer of energy as heat is always from the higher temperature medium to the lower temperature one. Transfer of energy as heat is always from the higher temperature medium to the lower temperature one. You know that higher temperature means in second unit in Carnot cycle we have studied higher temperature means we may tell it as source, and Lower temperature means sink. So heat is always transfer from higher temperature to lower temperature, that is source to sink. We can transfer the heat from lower temperature to higher temperature with the help of an external device. So next final point, heat transfer stops when two mediums reach the same temperature. What is this point? Heat transfer stops when the two medium reach the same temperature. So this is otherwise called as equilibrium. If I'm having a temperature of 31 degrees Celsius, assume I'm having a temperature of 31 degrees. If someone is sitting near me and he's having a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius, so after some time, and this room temperature will be 34 degrees Celsius. So the heat will be transferred from higher temperature to lower temperature. So again, our three objects will be having the same temperature. That is, now the three objects will be having equilibrium state. That's the point they are resembling that. Heat transfer stops when two mediums reach the same temperature. So I am also getting 31 degrees Celsius, near to my person also getting 32, and again room temperature will be also 31. So the three object will be having an equilibrium state. So that is the fourth point they're telling. Heat transfer stops when two mediums reach the same temperatures. So this is very important. Three modes of heat transfer. Important 2 more question. Wherever you go, they'll be asking if you want to study about heat transfer. These three modes of the heat transfer will be you have to learn thoroughly. One is conduction, and another one is radioactive heat exchange, and another one is convection transport. So what is conduction? So conduction, heat transfer through direct contact. Heat transfer to direct contact. You can see the diagram. So I'll be moving the cursor. See, you can see the diagram. Conduction. If you are telling, if I am assuming this is a steel rod, I'm heating one side of the, I'm heating one side of the steel rod. Okay. After some time, what will happen? I'm assuming this is a solid material. I'm heating one side of the steel rod. After some time, the heat will be transferred from one region to another region. So the heat will be transferred in the solid section. It is known as conduction. So in the diagram itself, you will be seeing that conduction, someone is handling some rod, and he is heating that rod at the tip of that solid material. Now heat is transferred from one region to another region. So that is known as conduction. Heat is transferred to direct contact of heat. Now what is radiation? That is, they are given us radioactive exchange. Heat transfer via electromagnetic waves. What is radiation? Radiation. If I am sitting here, now I am going home. So direct transfer of heat. Direct transfer of heat means sunlight. So that only I have mentioned in the diagram. Direct contact of heat without any medium. See, in conduction there is some medium. Medium means solid material. It is a type of medium. We are transferring the heat. But in radiation, what will happen? There is no medium. Direct contact of heat is transferred to us. So that's only I have mentioned heat transfer via electromagnetic wave. Best example is sunlight. And fourth one, convection. Convection means heat transfer by a moving fluid. I have given this diagram for convection. See, when we are boiling a water in a container, and we are heating that container. After some time, what will happen? The water in the boiler, the molecules present in the water, it will be moving fastly due to the high temperature of heat we are supplying. So at that time, the heat will be supplied through moving fluid, gas or liquid. So that is known as convection. So conduction, radiation, and convection. So important, these are the three modes of heat transfer. So I'll be giving a common example of this heat transfer. See, you can understand the concept of what is conduction and what is convection and what is radiation. That is modes of heat transfer. Heat transfer can be transferred into three different modes: conduction, convection, and radiation. See, someone is in the container. What they are doing in the container? They are boiling the water. And for boiling the water, we need the fuelless heat. I'm giving the heat to the container. So radiation, you can see that direct contact of heat. There is no medium between radiation. So that is known as radiation. And what is convection? Convection, it is heat transfer in a liquid or solid medium. So after the container is heating, then again it will be boiling the water. So molecules will be moving, then the convection will be happening. So convection means heating of any solid or gas or liquid things. And after that, conduction, you can see a man handling this container. And after that solid material, they are transferring the heat. So this is the best example of convection, conduction, and radiation. Okay. See, somewhat application of heat transfer. One is human body. And human body, how the heat will transfer? When we are going, radiation heat transfer will be there. Radiation means electromagnetic wave. Sunlight will be directly falling on our body, and that is a type of radiation heat transfer. Next, air conditioning system. Air conditioning system, always there will be heat transfer between surroundings and system. And again, heating system also will know. And electronic equipment, you know that electronic equipment, how the heat is transferred between the equipment to the surroundings. Power plant, of course, power plants, we are receiving large amount of heat transfer between the system to the surrounding. And refrigeration system in a home itself, it will be there. We are rejecting the heat. We are rejecting the higher temperature heat to the surroundings. So we will be getting the lower temperature. That is the concept of refrigeration. Next, what is specific heat? Again, two more questions. What is specific heat? See, I have given a simple definition for that. Energy required to rise the temperature of a unit mass of a substance by 1 degree. Energy required to rise the temperature of a unit mass of a substance by 1 degree. So two kinds of specific heats are there. One is specific heat at constant volume. We are considering that as CV. The notification of that specific heat at constant volume, CV. Specific heat at constant pressure, CP. You know the CP value is constant, that 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. And CV value is 0.718 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. Starting from unit 1, we are learning about the specific heat at constant volume and what is specific heat at constant pressure. Now I have to give a common example of what is the specific heat. See, we have to rise. See, I am giving a same example. Some object. Consider this as an object. This object. Consider this as an object. This object is having a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. This object is having a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. I need to increase this object as 23 degrees Celsius. That is 1 degree I need to increase. So if I want to increase 1 degree, how much heat energy required to rise the temperature? That is known as specific heat. Again, I'm explaining the energy required to rise the temperature of unit mass. See, since this object mass is 1 kilogram and temperature 22 degrees Celsius, this object is having a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. I have to rise 1 degree. So for rising 1 degree, how much heat energy I have to give? That heat energy is known as specific heat. So they are mentioning that the energy required to rise the temperature of the unit mass of a substance by 1 degree. That is a figure I have mentioned here. See, in figure 1 to 10, I have mentioned air mass is 1 kilogram. And again, the same object is having a mass of 300 to 301. We have to increase 1 degree Celsius. That is known as specific heat. So always a specific heat, constant pressure will be having the higher value and constant volume will be having lower value. In the value itself, we can find that constant pressure is 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. And again, constant volume will be having 0.718 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. So specific heats of a substance in general depend on two independent properties such as temperature and pressure. So just now I said, if you are having two objects, the two object pressure and temperature will be independent. So you have to increase the temperature of 1 degree Celsius. That is a specific heat of a substance in general. We are telling that. So next 10 more question. Suppose they will be asking derivation behind this, write the derive an expression for Fourier law of conduction, or they may ask for 2 more questions even. See, first I am reading this definition. It states that the rate of heat transfer is directly proportional to the area of normal to the direction of heat flow and temperature gradient. It states that the rate of heat transfer is directly proportional to the area normal to the direction of heat flow and temperature gradient. In right side, one wall is there, single plane wall, and I'll be showing in, I'm moving the cursor, look at that. This is a wall and T1 and T2. So T1 and T2 will be the initial and exit temperature. So T1 and T2 will be the initial and exit temperature. So always you can see that initial temperature will be higher and exit temperature will be lower. Heat is supplied. So heat Q denotes heat is supplied, that is heat flow rate. And A denotes the cross-sectional area and del X denotes the thickness or length of the plane wall. So here I can see that, see, this is the area and this is the del X means thickness or length of this plane, and this is a heat flow rate which is transferring from inlet to outlet. Okay, now coming to that state, see, rate of heat transfer directly proportional to the area normal to the direction of heat flow and temperature of gradient. Consider a wall. So I'm considering this wall. Look at the wall. I'm considering this wall. Those cross-sectional areas denoted by A. I'm denoting the cross-sectional area A that I have marked here A. The wall consists of thermal conductivity K. Thermal conductivity, how much it will conduct the heat. The wall consists of thermal conductivity K. It is denoted by capital letter K. Thermal conductivity means how much it will conduct the heat. Now this wall is having a thickness denoted by ds or del x. So thickness means del x. I have mentioned here del x. So that is the wall thickness noted by dx. There will be two sides of the wall. One side will be T1 and another side will be T2. So first inlet region there will be T1 and outlet region T2. So initial temperature is higher and exit temperature is lower. Here the assumption is T1 is higher than that of T1. I said that initial is higher and outlet is lower. Now by using this Fourier law of conduction, how I am going to derive this plane wall? By considering this plane wall, see, rate of heat transfer is directly proportional to the area of normal direction. Rate of heat transfer means Q, that is rate of heat transfer is directly proportional to area. So only I have given that directly proportional to area and temperature. So directly proportional to area means Q is equal to A into temperature difference. Temperature difference means del T. Del T I have written here as T1 to T1 minus T2. That temperature difference, that is initial temperature minus exit temperature. Okay, so divided by length. Length is thickness, so del X. So this is the basic formula for Fourier law of heat conduction. That rate of heat conduction Q equal to K into A T1 minus T2 divided by del X. So K is thermal conductivity. In unit of thermal conductivity is watt per meter Kelvin, and area meter square, and temperature you can measure in Celsius or Kelvin, and length in meter. So here if they have mentioned it, thickness they are del X they are taken. In problems we may take as dx, or if the problem they are giving the direct value of length, we can directly take as length. Okay. See, Fourier law of heat conduction, this is a formula. Study this formula that heat flow rate is directly proportional to area and temperature divided by length, that is thickness. Thermal conductivity unit is given as watt per meter Kelvin. What is thermal conductivity? I have mentioned about thermal conductivity. See, rate of heat transfer through a unit thickness of the material per unit area and unit temperature difference. Thermal conductivity of a material is a measure of ability of the material to conduct heat. In last slide itself, I said that what is thermal conductivity? Thermal conductivity means how much ability this material. See, suppose if this material, I am considering this material as copper material. So material is measure of ability of material to conduct heat. How much this material conduct heat? To find that, we will be using thermal conductivity. So in right side on tabular column is there. See, thermal conductivities of some materials at room temperatures. Many materials they are given: diamond, silver, copper, gold, aluminium, iron, mercury, glass, brick, water, human skin, wood, helium, soft rubber, glass fiber, air, rigid for many materials, and given the values of thermal conductivity. If suppose problem solving manner, if suppose they are giving a problem of a plain wall will be having an initial temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and exit temperature of 15 degrees Celsius. This wall is made up of copper. This wall is made up of copper, and the temperature difference between the two walls is they are given already. They are given initial temperature, outlet temperature, and this wall is made up of copper, and the area of the wall is they are given us 2.5 meters square. I'm assuming it 2.5 meters square, and the thickness or length of the wall is 2 meters. So these are the values they are given. Okay, so these values they are given, that length they are given, and initial temperature is given, and final temperature is given, and area is given. So we need to find out the heat flow rate through the wall. We need to find out the heat flow rate through the wall. So we can use Fourier law of heat conduction, that is heat flow rate equal to thermal conductivity to area T1 minus T2 divided by length. Okay, so at the time they have not given any thermal conductivity value. They are not given any thermal, but they are given only one clue that the wall is made up of copper. So you have to refer this tabular column. Where this refer? You have to use heat and mass transfer data book. I'm telling once again, you have to use heat and mass transfer data book. It will be, you can take that book into exam hall itself. Heat and mass data book. I'll be in last slide. I'll be showing that front page of that book. Heat and mass transfer data book. Author name is C.B. Gautam Raman. Okay. Okay, that book you can use, and you can find the thermal conductivity value directly from that book. That if they are giving different material, if suppose they will be giving aluminum, you can directly take thermal conductivity value from that heat transfer data book. Okay, next, thermal diffusivity. Thermal diffusivity, heat capacity per unit mass. Heat capacity per unit volume. What is thermal diffusivity? Represent how fast heat diffuses through a material. See how fast heat is transferred through the material is known as thermal diffusivity. How fast thermal conduct? What is the difference between thermal conductivity and thermal diffusivity? Thermal conductivity, how the heat is conduct the material, and thermal diffusivity, how fast the heat is conducting the material. Okay. So now thermal diffusivity, they are given heat conduction divided by heat storage. The material that has a high thermal conductivity or a low heat capacity will obviously have a large thermal diffusivity. So the large thermal diffusivity, the faster the propagation of heat into the medium. So these are in right side, I have given thermal diffusivity value, the same as if in the problem they are giving some material and they are not mentioning about thermal diffusivity values. Again, you have to go for heat and mass transfer data book, and you have to select if they are giving copper value, the copper thermal diffusivity value is, or here it is mentioned as 113 into 10 to the power minus 6 meters square per second. So if they're giving different values, you can go for this heat and mass transfer data book, and you can collect the values of thermal diffusivity and thermal conductivity. And here, thermal conductivity and difference between thermal conductivity. Already I said the difference between thermal conductivity. See, thermal conductivity indicates the rate of flow of heat. And if the value is high, heat will be transferred faster through the given material. If the value is high, heat will be transferred faster through the given material. If some material, if I'm taking a copper material will be having a high thermal conductivity value, then we can transfer the heat easily through the material. If suppose the thermal conductivity value is low, heat will be transferred more slowly through the given material. So based on application, we have to use this. If we need to conduct the heat, means we have to go for high thermal conductivity material. If the application is very low transferring heat, means we can go for low thermal conductivity materials. And again, thermal diffusivity. See, thermal diffusivity indicates the rate of flow of heat while taking into account the temperature changed caused in the transfer material due to the flow of heat. See, difference between thermal conductivity, it will rate of flow, only it indicate the rate of flow, but here it will indicate the rate of flow of heat while taking in the temperature change in the account. Okay, that is the high value would imply the high thermal conductivity and a low specific capacity per unit volume. See, now next we are going to study about steady and unsteady. What is steady and what is unsteady state? In first unit you have studied about steady and unsteady state. So under steady condition, the temperature within the system does not change with time. Under unsteady condition, the temperature within the system does vary with time. So steady means the temperature will not vary with time, but unsteady means temperature will vary with time. For example, if I am having my house, this home will be having a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius, and outside atmosphere is the temperature will be having a temperature of 31 degrees Celsius. On 10 o'clock, I am measuring this temperature. 10 o'clock, I am measuring my home will be having a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius, and atmospheric will be having a 30 degrees Celsius. So what is the concept? Concept is the heat will be flowing from higher temperature to lower temperature. So obviously the atmospheric temperature will be transferring to lower temperature. Lower temperature means my home. But when I am seeing at 5 p.m. also, 5 p.m. the same temperature is there. Atmospheric temperature also same temperature, and again my home temperature also 20 degrees. That is mentioned as first point. In steady state condition, temperature within system does not change with time. The temperature will be changed if the time also does not change. Okay, but unsteady condition, the temperature within the system does vary with the time. It will change with the time. If I am looking at 5 o'clock, but the temperature will be changing due to higher temperature will be transferred to lower temperature. So that is the concept for steady state. So steady state condition, temperature will not change depend on the time, but unsteady condition, temperature will be varying with respect to time. So in case of fluid, the flow in which the properties of fluid remain constant with the time. So what is steady flow and unsteady flow? So I'm differentiating steady state, unsteady state. What is steady flow and unsteady flow? A flow in which the properties of fluid remains constant So here we are in steady state we are consider heat, but in steady flow we are considering fluid. Okay, the properties of fluid remains constant with time. Unsteady flow, same fluid we are considering, properties of fluid varies with time. Clear? Next, see first problem on Fourier law of heat conduction. First problem on Fourier law of heat conduction. Outer surface of 0.2 meter thick concrete wall is kept at temperature of -5 degrees Celsius, while the inner surface is kept at 20 degrees Celsius. The thermal conductivity of a concrete is 1.2 watt per meter Kelvin. Determine the heat loss through the wall 10 meter long and 3 meter high. So outer surface 0.2 meter thick concrete wall is kept at, so you can see the diagram. See, you can see the diagram I have mentioned there. Initial temperature is, inner surface temperature they are given as 20 degrees Celsius. Outer surface temperature they are given as -5 degrees Celsius. And again, while the inner surface is kept as 20 degrees Celsius, the thermal conductivity of the concrete is 1.2 watt per meter Kelvin. Determine the heat loss. What is heat loss? What is the notification of heat loss? Heat loss notification, to find, we need to find out the value for Q. So I am using Fourier law of heat conduction. What is Fourier law of heat conduction? Fourier law of heat conduction is proportional to area and temperature difference. So Q equal to area, thermal conductivity, del T, that is temperature difference, T1 minus T2 divided by L. So what is area? They are given, see, area is given as 10 meter. Okay, 10 meter long. So area is given as 10 meter, 3 meter high and 1 point thick concrete wall. Okay, so I'm multiplying height and long meter. So I'm 10 into 3 equal to area, and thermal conductivity value 1.2. Suppose, what is the material? Concrete wall. Okay, concrete wall. Suppose they are not giving thermal conductivity value for concrete wall, we need to go for heat and mass data book, and we have to take thermal conductivity from heat and mass data book. So in this problem, they are given concrete value as K equal to 1.2 watt per meter Kelvin. We can directly apply here. And what is the length of this wall? Length means thickness they have given. Thickness equal to 0.2 meter. So I'm substituting length equal to 0.2 meter. So area equal to 10 into 3 meter square. Thermal conductivity equal to 1 watt per meter Kelvin. And length equal to 0.2 meter. Temperature difference. Temperature difference equal to, they are given T1 minus T2. So temperature T1 equal to 20 degrees Celsius minus 5 degrees Celsius. So what are the answer we are getting? So for calculating this equation, we are getting answer as 4500 watt. Next slide. See, only diagram. This problem they are given only the diagram. A simple plane wall, a single plane wall consists of thermal conductivity and initial temperature T1 they are given, and exit temperature they are not given. Only, see, you can look at the diagram. You can look at the diagram where a single plane wall, initial thermal conductivity value they are given 0.2 watt per meter Kelvin, and area of the wall is given as 10 meter square. Heat conduction, that is heat flow rate, Q equal to 3 kilowatt they are given. T1 equal to 415 degrees Celsius and T2 they are not given. Length of the valve is 2.5. So in the figure itself we know that one dimensional heat flow at steady state condition, we need to find out the value for exit temperature, that is we need to find out the value for T2. So I am using Fourier law of heat conduction equation. So I need to find out the Fourier law of heat conduction equation, that is Q equal to area into thermal conductivity into temperature difference divided by L. So by using that relation, I am easily going to find out the value of T2. So by substituting the value, I am getting the value as T2 equal to 378 degree Celsius. Okay, you can see the values here. Area equal to minus K dt by dx. You can see the value as temperature at exit region 378 degree Celsius. Okay. So next problem, heat conduction problems. Next, the same problem, they are given, see, inner and outer surface temperatures of a glass window 5 mm thick or 15 and 5 degrees Celsius respectively. What is the heat loss through a window that is 1 meter by 3 meter on a side? The thermal conductivity of glass is 1.4 watt per Kelvin. So inner and outer surface temperature of a glass window of a precise dimension, they are given the systematic sketch. So initial temperature 15 degrees Celsius, exit temperature 5 degrees Celsius, a length of plane wall equal to 0.005 meter, area is given as 1 meter into 3 meter. Calculating, will be getting area as 3 meter square. Thermal conductivity of this wall they have given as 1.4 watt per meter Kelvin, and we need to find out the heat loss. Heat loss means Q. So directly I am applying Fourier law of heat conduction formula, and I am finding the value 2800 watt per meter square. This is a 16 mark problem, an important problem based on Fourier law of heat conduction. See, 3 layers. If one Fourier law of heat conduction, one valve is given, so initial and exit temperature we have find out. But here in this problem they are given 3 layers. Suppose the 3 layers consist of different materials. So if the 3 layers are consist of different material, definitely the thermal conductivity of that 3 material will be changed. So see this problem, calculate the rate of heat loss through the vertical walls of a final boiler furnace of size 4 mm by 3 mm by 3 mm height. The walls are constructed from an inner fiber brick wall 25 centimeter. First wall, inner wall is brick wall 25 centimeter thick of thermal conductivity 0.4 watt per meter Kelvin. They have directly given the thermal conductivity value for brick wall. The layer of ceramic blanket insulation of thermal conductivity next wall is a layer of ceramic blanket insulation of thermal conductivity 0.2 watt per meter Kelvin. And the thick of that wall is 8 centimeter thick. And a steel protective layer of thermal conductivity 55 watt per meter Kelvin and 2 mm thick. Again, the steel protective layer, they are given the thermal conductivity value, and the thickness of steel protective layer is 2 mm thick. Inside, temperature of the fiber layer was measured as 600 degrees Celsius. So inside, temperature of fiber brick layer was measured at 600 degrees Celsius, and the temperature outside of the insulation is 60 degrees Celsius. Also find the interference temperature of layers. See, all these problems, whether it is 3 layers or 4 layers or 5 layers problem, simple problem, but we need to only one thing, heat transfer, that is Q equal to del T divided by R. Del T means thermal temperature difference, R is thermal resistance. Thermal resistance formula, see, I have given down length divided by thermal conductivity into area. Okay, length divided by thermal conductivity. They will be going to ask this type of 3 layers problem. Only you need to use only one relation, that is Q is directly proportional to temperature, that is Q equal to del T divided by thermal resistance. Thermal resistance equal to L1 divided by K1 into area. So we need to find out Q value. We need to find out Q as well as we need to find out the temperature difference of layers. See, I'm moving the cursor. See, you can see the diagram. So this is 3 layer. First layer, second layer, and third layer. So first layer temperature T1 is there, and again second layer T2, and again middle layer T3, and outer temperature T1. So what is the temperature difference here? The temperature difference is T1 and T4. That is initial temperature and exit temperature. Don't consider as inner temperature as initial temperature or outer temperature as exit temperature. So you have to consider first portion of the material. See, I'll be showing this is the first portion. First portion means T1. T1 will be the initial temperature and exit temperature is T1. So temperature difference you have to take it as T1 minus T4. So here 3 layers. So don't consider that initial temperature difference means T1 minus T2. If you are considering T1 minus 2, then it is wrong. So 3 layers are there. You have to consider initial as T1 and final as T4. If it is 2 layers, if they are asking 2 layers, that is only 1 and 2, what will be the temperature difference? T1 minus T3. So here it is 3 layers. So look at the diagram. I am taken that T1 minus T4 is the temperature difference divided by R equal to thermal resistance, that is L1 divided by K1 into A. So all values they are given. See, if I'm moving the cursor, see, take the first material. First material, find out the thermal resistance. After that, take the second material, find out the thermal resistance. Again, third material, find out the thermal resistance. What is thermal resistance? See here, I'm moving the cursor, look at here. Thermal resistance for material 1, L1 divided by K1A. What is L1 for first material? See, 25 centimeter. And K1, 0.4 watt meter Kelvin. That L1 and K1 is given. And what is the area? Area is given as 4 into 3 into 12. Okay, so we have to multiply all this. Area is given as 12 meter. That is 12 meter square. Area of rectangular wall LB equal to 4 into 3 equal to 12 meter square. So for first material, to find thermal resistance, L1 divided by K1 is given. So L1 they are given as 25 centimeter. Thermal conductivity value is given. Area of rectangular of wall we find out as 12 meter square. So by using all this data, we can find out thermal resistance for first material is 0.0521 kilowatt. And again, going through second material. This is second material. Second material, see, look at here. Second material, again, we have to need to find out thermal resistance. For that, L2 divided by K2 into A. So again, what is L2? 0.002 meter and K2 54 watt per meter Kelvin. That is also given. Second material is steel. First material is fire brick. Second material is steel. And area is, it is common area, that is 12 meter square. I am multiplying and I am getting thermal resistance. Similarly, you have to measure thermal resistance for third material, that L3 divided by K3 equal to A. So thermal resistance for 3 materials you have find out. So now see only one thing, if thermal conductivity value is not given for fiber brick and not given for steel and not given for insulation, we need to find out the thermal conductivity value. First, I said that if you are not giving thermal conductivity value, we have to directly go for heat transfer data book. We have to go there and we have to find out the thermal conductivity value of fire brick, steel, insulation. Directly they will be giving the answer. Fire brick thermal conductivity is 0.4 watt per meter Kelvin. Steel 54 watt per meter Kelvin. Insulation 0.2 watt per meter Kelvin. Directly they will be giving the values. So all thermal resistance value we have find out. So in this is a, I'm moving the cursor, Q equal to del T by R. So R is total resistance, that is R1, R2, R1 plus R2 plus R3. So I am adding all these three. So I am getting, so initial temperature they are given us 600 degrees Celsius and outer temperature of the valve is 60 degrees Celsius. So I am finding all thermal conductivity values. I am substituting T1 and T2 value. I am getting the value of Q equal to 6320.96 watt. Okay, so in order to find the temperature drop between steel layer, okay, temperature drop between steel layer. So see, second layer is steel layer. If I am considering second layer, what will be the temperature difference? What will be del T? Del T is T2 minus T3. See, that only mentioned. Del T divided by R3, R2. Okay, what? T2 minus T3. Because only I am taking that valve. Only I am taking that valve. What is the temperature difference between that valve? Initial temperature and exit temperature. If you are considering 3 valves, then temperature difference will be T1 minus T4. If you are considering a single valve for that second material, then the temperature difference will be T2 minus T3. So directly I am substituting and I am finding the answer. Okay. And this problem is of it's of course it's like a problem of heat loss. Directly thickness is given. We need to find out heat loss per meter square. Per meter square means 1 meter square. So area is given as 1, and we need to calculate the value for Q. Q equal to thermal conductivity area into temperature difference divided by area. So outer temperature and inner temperature is given, and again fiber insulating board thermal conductivity value is given as 0.048. Directly I am substituting Fourier law of conduction. I am calculating the value for Q. Why I am taking A as downside mean area I am considering as per meter square. Okay. The same problem on see this type of problem definitely they will be asking 3 layers problem, and 2 more they will be asking Fourier law of conduction. See, 3 walls will be there, one wall 3 wall, one of fire brick, one of insulating brick, and another one is red brick. So 3 walls will be there, inner and outer temperature. So initial temperature T1 value is 870 degrees Celsius and T4 value is 40 degrees Celsius. So respective thermal conductivities of these 3 values. Thermal conductivities of these 3 values is 1.0, 0.12 and 0.75 watt per meter Kelvin, and thickness are they are given 22 centimeter. So thickness is given, thermal conductivity value is given, inner and outer temperature value is given. Okay, so now we are directly applying the formula Q equal to del T by thermal resistance. Q equal to del T by thermal resistance, and composite wall all they are given. So directly we are substituting. First we have to find out the thermal resistance value, and after that we can substitute. See, I am moving the cursor. See, Q equal to T1 minus T4 R1 plus R2 plus R3. So this is the formula that finding thermal resistance for each layer. I am getting 0.991. Initial temperature and exit temperature they are given. Directly I am getting the value for heat flow rate. Next chapter is refrigeration. So refrigeration, define refrigeration and turn off refrigeration. Refrigeration means refrigeration may be defined as a process of removing heat from a substance or space and maintaining its temperature below the surrounding temperature. Refrigeration is a process of removing heat from a lower temperature reservoir and transferring it to a higher temperature reservoir. The work of heat transfer is traditionally driven by mechanical means, but can also be driven by heat. Look at this diagram. I'm moving the cursor. See, this is the type of refrigeration. So we need to cool the object inside this refrigeration. So if you want to cool something, what we have to do? We have to reject the heat from that particular portion. So for rejecting that portion, we need to use refrigeration process. That is the first point they have mentioned. See, refrigeration may be defined as the process of removing heat from a substance or a space. If we need to cool a space or a substance, we have to reject the heat from the substance or space and maintaining that temperature below the surrounding temperature. If we are having if one object is having a temperature of 30 degrees Celsius and atmospheric temperature will be 33, I want to cool that object. Definitely I have to reject the heat from that particular object. That is the process called refrigeration. Okay, work of heat transfer is traditionally driven by mechanical. So you all think that by seeing this diagram whether it is an electrical device. No, it is not an electrical device. It is full and full of mechanical device. Only thing, by this is a compressor. For driving this compressor, we will be using electric motors. Only electrical thing we are using here. For driving compressor only we will be using. Remaining all things are mechanical device. And turn off refrigeration. Important to know, turn off refrigeration. Refrigeration load on the system is given in terms of tons of refrigeration. 1 ton of refrigeration is defined as the quantity of heat required to be removed from 1 ton of water, that is 1000 kilogram at 0 degrees Celsius, to convert it into ice at 0 degrees Celsius in 24 hours. In actual practice, 1 ton of refrigeration is equal to 210 kilojoule per minute, that is 3.5 kilowatt. Okay, so application of refrigeration. Application of refrigeration is food and milk preservation, ice formation, comfort and industrial air conditioning, medical and surgical ice, oil refining. This is the main application. And ton of refrigeration, say I have mentioned that we need to convert. What is the ton of refrigeration? If suppose I'm taking 1000 liter of water, I'm taking 1000 liter of water and I'm keeping inside the refrigeration plant. Okay, I need to convert this 1000 liter of water into ice. Okay, so I'm rejecting the heat from the space. So at that time, what will happen? So how much heat energy is required? So how much heat is rejected to convert that 1000 liter water into 1000 kilogram ice? That is known as ton of refrigeration. See, what is refrigerant? Refrigerant is a substance or mixture, usually a fluid, used in refrigeration cycle. In most cycle, it undergoes phase transition from liquid to a gas or back again. So some of most common refrigerant used are ammonia, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. Mainly, we'll be using these other refrigerant inside the refrigerant plant for rejecting the heat. And you can see this important 16 mark question, simple vapor compression refrigeration system. You can see I will be explaining major part by using this compressor, evaporator, expansion valve and receiver. So compressor used to do compress the low pressure air into high pressure air. So here we are using reciprocating compressor. Yesterday we studied about reciprocating compressor. Reciprocating compressor will compress the low pressure into high pressure, that is single stage compressor. Evaporator will convert vapor into again liquid formation, and expansion valve, it will reduce the pressure and temperature. If some oil or gas is we are sending in expansion valve. If it is expanding, means what will happen? Automatically the temperature and pressure will be reduced. So receiver, it will collect the fluid comes from expansion valve. What is the use of condenser? Condenser means it will convert vapor into liquid. That is the use of condenser. Now this is the main parts of vapor compression refrigeration system. Before seeing this parts, see, compressor main function of compressor is to increase the pressure and temperature of the refrigerant above the atmospheric condition. Compressor used in this refrigerant reciprocating type. Already said what type of compressor we are using in refrigeration means reciprocating type compressor. And condenser is used to cool the vapor refrigerant, and the vapor will be converted into the liquid. And in condenser, the function of condenser is to convert the vapor into liquid. And again receiver I said, receiver is a storage tank which stores the liquid refrigerant coming from the condenser. Expansion valve controls the flow of condensed refrigerant at this high pressure back into the evaporator. The valve during the expansion reduces the temperature and pressure of the compressed liquid refrigerant. What is the function of expansion valve? It will reduce the pressure and temperature of the compressed liquid refrigerant. Now next point, evaporator. In the evaporator, liquid state will be absorbed heat. When it evaporates, this conditional changes cooling effect by the refrigeration process. The evaporator will change the liquid state. Okay, will change the refrigerant in the liquid state will absorb heat when it evaporates, and this conditional change produces cooling effect by the refrigeration process. So now I'm going to explain this working principle of vapor compression system. See, important 16 mark question. See, this is evaporator. I'm moving the cursor. This is evaporator. Pressure at lower temperature and pressure enters the compressor. So this is the compressor. See, look at here. This is the compressor. Low pressure and low temperature vapor enters to the compressor. So 1 to 2. This is stage 1 to 2. Low pressure and low temperature enters into the compressor. And next point, where it is compressed and subsequently its temperature and pressure increases. So in this compressor, what is the use of compressor? It will compress the vapor, and now what will happen? High temperature pressure and high temperature vapor will absorb, and it will go to the pressure gauge. This vapor, after leaving the compressor, it enters the condenser. Okay, where it is condensed into high pressure liquid. In condenser, the vapor will be converted to liquid, that is high pressure liquid, and it is collected in the receiver tank. Now it is collected in the receiver tank. So receiver tank contains high pressure liquid. So next, from the receiver tank, it passes through the expansion valve. This is the expansion valve. So expansion valve, what will happen? It will reduce the temperature and pressure. So high pressure liquid, it is converted to low pressure liquid. See, it is converted to low pressure liquid. And after passing to the expander, it passes through the evaporator. And again, it goes to the evaporator, where it extracts heat from the surroundings and vaporizes to low pressure vapor. Then thus the cycle is continued. Once again, I am telling this point. I'm moving this cursor. See, this is evaporator. Low pressure vapor and low temperature vapor comes into compressor. In compressor, this vapor has become high pressure vapor and high pressure temperature. Again is to condenser. Condenser, it will condense the vapor into liquid. Now it become high pressure liquid and high temperature liquid. This high pressure vapor will go to receiver. This receiver will collect the high pressure vapor and it will send to the expansion valve. Expansion valve will reduce the pressure, so it will become low pressure vapor. So here it is mentioned low pressure vapor. This low pressure vapor, again it goes to evaporator. In evaporator, again it will reject the heat and again the vapor is converted to liquid. Okay, this liquid they are converting. See, this liquid will be going to evaporator, and evaporator, what will happen? It will convert this vapor into liquid by means of rejecting the heat. Thus the cycle will be automatically continued by the. See here I have mentioned pressure H graph. Pressure H means enthalpy graph. Enthalpy means heat. See 1 to 2 compression happens. Compression means if compression happens means pressure is high. So only the graph is high. 1 to 2 the pressure is high, and 2 to 3 condensation. Condensed pressure is constant. So this is the line, pressure is constant, and 3 to 4 expansion happens. In expansion what will happen? We will be reducing the pressure. So it will be reducing. 3 to 4 automatically it will be reducing. And in evaporation what will happen? Evaporation pressure will be constant. So this is the pressure graph. This line denotes liquid line, and this line denotes vapor line. Okay. Advantages and disadvantages application. So it is very mature technology. COP is higher when compared to other systems. TOP means coefficient of performance is compared to other frictions. And again, disadvantages: initial cost is high. Initially it is highly flammable. Inflammable. Inflammable means we are using ammonia. Ammonia gas we are using. So ammonia it's highly inflammable gas, and it is also highly toxic. More refrigerant required to avoid superheating in the evaporator. Application: domestic refrigeration will be using, commercial refrigeration will be using, and again food processing and storage system. Food processing and storage system also will be using this. Cooling of electronics. For cooling electronics things also we will be using this refrigeration system. And next question: ammonia water vapor absorption refrigeration system. See here the same thing, same diagram, same process. Only thing is, see I'm moving the cursor. We'll be using generator and absorber extra for this diagram. Okay, generator and absorber. This is heat exchange. Simply I will be telling, see expansion valve we have to create. This is evaporator. We have to make low capacity. That is we have to reject the heat from evaporator. So evaporator it goes to here. See after expansion valve, the liquid refrigerant after expansion valve. See this is expansion valve. After expansion valve, the liquid refrigerant. We are using ammonia liquid here. Ammonia liquid enters the evaporator. It will enter the evaporator. It will enter the evaporator. There it absorbs heat from the place to be refrigerated. It phase changes from liquid to vapor. Now it phases changes from liquid to vapor. Then the vapor reaches absorber where it is readily absorbed in a low temperature absorbing medium. So it mixes with the weak solution. Thus the solution now becomes strong, some heat being rejected during the process. This strong solution is pumped to the high pressure and passes through the heat exchanger. Here it takes some heat from the weak solution which is throttled and returning back to the absorber. It increases the efficiency of the system. So it will automatically increases the efficiency of the system. See the use of generator. The generator heats the strong solution. So generator is here. I'm moving the cursor. The generator is here. This generator will heat the strong solution, thereby forming ammonia vapor. Here some water may be vaporized. This water vapor is separated in the analysis. Even after this, if any water vapor is present, it will be condensed in the rectifier. It will be condensed in the rectifier by passing cooling water. So the rectifier is here. The rectifier is here. Okay, it will be condensed in the rectifier by passing cooling water. Here the rectifier will be there. Now only ammonia vapor enters the condenser and cooling water is passed through the condenser. Because of condensation, refrigerant vapor becomes liquid, and this liquid goes to the receiver. Thus the cycle continues. Okay. Now advantages: as there is no moving parts in the system, the operation is quiet and there is very little bearing. So the maintenance cost is very low. So maintenance cost of this ammonia vapor compression system is very low, and system does not depend on electricity. It does not depend on electricity, and charging of refrigerant is charging of refrigerant means charging of ammonia filling facility is very difficult. So application mainly used for water cooling above 0 degrees Celsius. We'll be using this refrigerant mainly used for water cooling above 0 degrees Celsius. So next slide I'll be showing. This will be the heat and mass transfer data book. This will be the heat and mass transfer data book. Here you can find the values of thermal conductivity of any material, and you can find the value of thermal diffusivity of any material. If suppose you can find a common, that is a composite wall through a plain wall, what will be the heat flow rate? Then directly heat flow rate is direct to the thermal conductivity and area. That values also you can find. So thermal diffusivity and